Many people dream of starting up their own business, but it is a big leap of faith. There's risk and reward, and oftentimes people lack knowledge of how to go about becoming self-employed. Tim Rempel is a Lethbridge businessman with over 26 years of experience as an entrepreneur. He also works with Economic Development Lethbridge with Tech Connect as an advisor for people who are just starting up a new business. Welcome to Bridge City News, Tim.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. Now, Tim, share a little bit about your story. How did you first get going as a self-employed person?
And it's not the long meandering story. I'll give you the Coles notes.
Sure.
And I come from a farming background. I grew up in a farm. So in essence, small business was built into my blood because a farm is a small business. I didn't want to farm though. And after going to school, believe it or not, as an electronics technologist, which has nothing to do with anything I'm doing today.
Okay.
But that progressed to one thing, to the next, to the next, to the next. And opportunities came along and we took advantage of those, and that's how we ended up here.
And I have a booster juice, correct?
Correct. We have 8 locations currently.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yes.
But the Bautista Blast is gone ever since he left the Jays, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. The contract was over. That was done. Yeah.
So that was the timing for that. So what are some of the typical mistakes that people make when they want to start up their own business, Tim?
Probably a couple of things that I can think of off the top of my head is that they believe or they think that they've got a unique product that nobody else has, which in today's day and age, with pretty much anything that we could ever think of doing has already been done. Now, whether or not you have a unique spin to that or whatever the case may be, that might help.
But you may not be reinventing the wheel here,
But you
right?
might not be reinventing the wheel. It's probably already out there. And then probably the second thing is that some people probably believe it's easier than they think it will be. Or they think it's easier than it will be, because it is a lot of tough work.
You know, it's funny because I talk to business owners that have, like Tim Hortons franchise, just to get into the franchise alone is over $1 million turnkey, and it takes a lot of work, doesn't it?
Exactly, and it's, especially in the franchising world, could be a very big range. I mean, there's some very low-cost franchises, but you might not be making a lot of money at that. Right. There's some very expensive one. There's more expensive than Tim Hortons even.
Really?
Yes.
Like a McDonald's franchise?
McDonald's, Boston Pizza's pretty expensive, all of those, yeah.
That's interesting. So is it safe to say that it's really important to set some reasonable goals? Because a lot of times the first few years are growing pains and you may be losing, not making money.
And it's, take it one step farther back, it's sometimes even before you get into the business, it's doing your due diligence, making sure you have a very clear picture of what is going on, what could happen, how much work is going to be involved, how much money is going to be involved, all the different factors that could enter into affecting how successful your business is.
So how does a person really determine what to charge for their product or service? Doing some of that research? Like
yeah, it's market research, determining, because there's probably stuff out there that is similar to whatever you're trying to market, and then being able to sort of look at what other people are looking at, what they're charging, all that sort of thing, and determining where you fit into the marketplace.
You know what I find really interesting as well, Tim, is when you hear about another fast food restaurant opening up, it's usually, we got to get as close to a McDonald's as possible, or to a Burger King. They all seem to collaborate or congregate in the same area. Why do you think that is? One feeds off another, pardon the pun?
Oh no, it's very true, and I believe you're very accurate in that statement. We have several locations where we are in a conglomeration of many food establishments, and it actually does help our business because people then are used to going to a certain area for food, and then it's a matter of, okay, we're going to eat over there today, or we're going to eat over here today, so you have a better chance than if you're off just by yourself.
Tell me about some of the challenges you've had when it comes to owning the Booster Juice franchise. 8 locations.
Yeah, there's all sorts of things that we've experienced with that sort of thing, which isn't necessarily related to Booster Juice. It's just business in general.
Okay.
So you're dealing with challenges of employment, and you're dealing with a lot of employees and the HR standards and everything else they have to do. Costs associated with that, like the increased minimum wage that we've had.
How did that impact your business?
Hugely. And it wasn't just one thing. Not to sound negative or anything or get too political, but in the 26 years that we've been in business, this last couple of years has been the first time I've ever felt like as a small business owner, I'm under attack, almost. insofar as just with everything that's piled on, with the increase in minimum wage, changes to stat pay, changes to other HR standards, carbon taxes, which have increased all of our input costs, that sort of thing. It really has made a change to how we operate and how we do business.
I think I know how you're going to be voting next spring.
Yeah.
But let's talk about some of the businesses that may be needed here in Lethbridge. Could we see some more restaurants? And I know restaurant owners, they have their challenges too. Many go under after the first 5 years.
Correct. And food stuff in that sort of way is always more volatile in the marketplace. It depends on what the food is, like types of food, what kind of service it is.
Different ethnic foods.
Exactly, and we're seeing more and more of that. Actually, I deal with a couple of clients with my business advising at Tech Connect that are doing some really unique things with South American and Central American food. So which is nice because we have people that are immigrants to Canada. They've come here from another country, and they're bringing their unique flavors and styles of food and everything to our area here.
How about some of the Syrian and maybe Iraqi refugees? Are they bringing some of their delicious food?
And yeah, actually, and there's another group that we're dealing with over at Tech Connect as well that is Syrian food. Yeah.
What about marketing? Okay, marketing and social media marketing.
Yes.
How prominent is that in having a powerful online presence for your business?
Huge. It's marketing in general, just like with any other business, is a hugely integral part of how successful your business is going to be. You could have the world's best widget or whatever you're trying to sell.
Or pizza.
Or pizza, whatever it might be. But if nobody knows about it, if the word doesn't get out there, that nobody's going to buy it, meaning you're not going to be successful. So marketing in general is a very integral part. And yes, the social media side of things, especially in today's day and age, is a very, very big component of it. Although I would caution, it's not the only component to it. As I always use an analogy when I'm talking marketing is that social media or radio or TV or whatever it might be is one tool in the toolbox. You can't build a house with just a screwdriver.
So don't put all your eggs in that one basket.
Exactly. You need to have diversified marketing to be a long-term success.
What's interesting is many years ago I worked as a country music radio announcer, and I got to know a lot of the country music stars, and Garth Brooks, the country music star, was saying, I don't have the best voice out there, but I've got the best marketing team out there.
Yep.
And he studied marketing in college.
Yep. You know, it's very true. You don't have to, I mean, think of any product that is almost a staple today.
Like a burger.
A burger or
right?
whatever. McDonald's burger, and nothing against McDonald's, I eat their burgers too. But whatever it might be, is that they might not be the best product, but there's other factors that put them sort of at the top of the market. Marketing is a big, huge part of it. Consistency, location, all that other stuff enters into the picture as well.
How about a name? Remember when Google first came out, people were like, what is a Google?
Yeah.
And now it's an adjective. I mean, it's just like,
and it's become sort of like Kleenex, which actually isn't.
Or we used to Xerox things.
Yes,
It's photocopy, not
precisely,
Xerox,
precisely, where the brand actually becomes the name, and it's very true that names can be very important, but there was a whole bunch of marketing that went along with that to make it go to that extent. It just didn't happen by itself.
What are some of the rookie mistakes, Tim, that entrepreneurs make today?
It's I would say a couple of different things. That it's going to be easier than it really is going to be. They think it's going to be easier. Not doing their due diligence, so they don't have a clear picture of how much work it's going to take or what strategies they might have to entail to get to where they want to go.
So a business plan is pretty important. Isn't it?
Very, very important. And having a really pragmatic look. Sometimes as an entrepreneur, we get sort of in love with whatever we're doing, and we don't necessarily see the pitfalls or the downsides or different things like that. And you have to be pretty pragmatic as a business person.
Maybe objective as well?
Yes.
Kind of stand back,
Yeah,
look back.
look at it from the outside. Getting outside advice, I think, is very key for whatever you're doing. So if you have friends or family, which is sometimes a little biased, but if you can get into a group of business people that you can sort of draw on each other or draw on each other's experiences, or get a business advisor, talk to your accountant, talk to your lawyer, all those different things to get those outside perspectives. So at least makes you think. It might not necessarily change the decision that you make, but at least you're getting some outside advice.
How often do you hear of entrepreneurs, new entrepreneurs, who received a golden handshake, like what happened in Oshawa with the GM plant, and they want to start up a new business? How often do you hear of that?
Oh, quite often.
Second career, right?
Quite often. And the, especially even when in Alberta here with the oil
Yeah, the oil
issues
and
that we
gas
had,
industry, yeah.
when everybody had their payouts from that, you saw a big spike in the number of small businesses.
What kind of businesses did we see?
All sorts of stuff, whether it was consulting stuff related to their existing field, or you had people trying to get into different types of businesses or franchises that are related, totally unrelated to the oil industry. But they had, they had some cash because they had a payout, and they were trying to find different ways of earning a living from that point on. Now, some worked, obviously, and some wouldn't work. That just is the way it goes.
What are some of the average startup costs if we're looking at maybe starting, I don't know, like say even a pet store, let's say. Not a big name pet store like a Petco or PetSmart or whatever, but maybe something local. Could you start at around 100K? Like, can you get in?
It would be hard to say because I'm not familiar how much it costs to bring in dog food, for instance.
Right, yeah, that's right.
But I mean, there are a lot of costs that are associated with starting a business, especially, so you have to rent a space somewhere if you're doing a retail store of some sort, and that's not cheap.
And a lot of those landlords want leases of what, 10, 15, 20?
Yeah,
they want to know you're going to be there for the long term.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Usually minimum of 5, more often it's 10.
Right.
So you're signing a lease for a long period of time. Usually if you're a new business or a private business, there's going to be some sort of personal guarantees on that, meaning that even if the business fails, they're still coming after you for the money. So you need to make sure, and that goes back to making sure you have a clear sort of view of all of the different things that could happen and what can go on.
So Tim, there are some misconceptions as well when people think, I'm going to be my own business owner. I don't want to take orders from a boss anymore. I want to be the boss, right? Well, guess what? All of your customers and your clients become your boss, essentially.
For sure.
And there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. I talked to a gentleman that owns a Dairy Queen. He had to go to the U of DQ.
Yes.
Why don't you tell our viewers what that's all about?
Well, and with most franchises, almost any franchises, there's some sort of training program that goes along with it. So if you're going to buy into a franchise, you will have to go to a training somewhere. Me personally, I went to Booster U at the head office.
And you
Edmonton
graduated,
for
obviously.
2 weeks. I did, yes. We have to write a test. It's very intensive. You do everything. You're, whether Dairy Queen, you're flipping burgers. For me, I was making smoothies, all that sort of stuff. But any franchise would have a training program of some sort where you would have to learn all of that stuff.
What's the most popular smoothie right now?
Right now, that's a good question. Probably Hail to the Kale is going pretty good.
Oh, with kale, okay.
Yeah,
Very healthy, right?
Yes, and then Strawberry Sunshine Mango Hurricane are
Well,
always
that
there.
sounds more my
Yes.
speed. That's
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
What about public relations, customer relations? How important is that as well for people who come to you with complaints about your business?
Well, when any business that you have, it is and when you're dealing with customers, you're always going to run into issues of some sort at some point. Sometimes there is justification for that. An employee makes a mistake or there's not a process followed and something's just wrong. Sometimes, though, it can be unreasonable in that sort of thing, and it's how you respond to it that's going to sort of define your business. So even if it is something that isn't necessarily in control, you still have to make every attempt to solve the problem and to work with the customer and that sort of thing.
So after you graduated, with the Booster Juice University there, did you look at hiring managers who had lots of experience working at Booster Juice? They kind of knew the template, the business model,
Right.
proper protocol, the flow, the workflow,
exactly.
right?
And we would love to if you could. So when we started, and this is going back 10 or 11 years, we had 2 stores. We inherited a couple of different employees with those stores, but we've learned over the years that invariably we run into issues where when we take over a store, that there's a turnover of staff because of different policies, different procedures, whatever it might be. And what we found is that we hire good people with good personalities, train them, and then we've had the best success of having existing employees moving to assistant manager to a manager, rather than bringing outside people in.
Outside of the financial benefits, what are some of the big rewards you've seen owning these Booster Juices and being a local business person with over 26 years of experience?
Well, and it's with the different businesses that we've had over that period of time and that sort of thing. I remember in an interview quite a few years ago, I said that I never worked so hard for so little of my life, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And it's true. If you're an entrepreneur, if this is what you want to do, you don't you don't want to do anything else. You want to be working for yourself, building something for yourself, and having it more control over what your life takes, kind of thing. Yeah. But it isn't for everybody. And completely honest, I'm not saying I'm special, I'm just different in that way. And not everybody can do that with the stress of, you get paid last, all your employees get paid first, but you get paid last. If you need to come up with money for paying the rent or paying the payroll or whatever it might be.
How about hiring family members? Bringing in your wife or your kids?
And I did work...
Is that frowned upon?
I've seen both good sides and bad sides to that. On my good side, I did actually have my wife working with us on our publication company that we had for 10 years. She worked in our office. She ran that particular part of our business, and it worked very, very well. I've heard...
Your marriage survived.
Marriage survived. We're still good. 22 years coming up. So that is a good news story. But I've definitely heard of other sides where it just doesn't work. Yeah.
Tim Rempel, local businessman, and with Tech Connect and Economic Development Lethbridge, an advisor for people starting up a new business. Thanks a lot for joining me in studio today.
No problem. Thank you very much.